For most of 2025, the Valve community was looking for one thing. From cryptic voice actor posts to a promised book releasing in 2025, players were convinced that this would finally be the year Valve counted to 3. But as the year ends, we realized we were looking in the wrong direction. While we were waiting for a game announcement that stayed stuck in the classic Valve time, Valve was busy rebuilding the entire foundation of PC gaming at a speed we weren't prepared for. In the last 12 months, Valve drew a line in the sand. They moved to colonize every corner of the industry. They killed off the hardware that started the handheld revolution, and after 10 years of silence, they finally reclaimed the living room with an official new Steam machine. From the great CS2 skin apocalypse to Gabe Newell's terrifyingly real brain chip breakthroughs, this is the complete, unfiltered story of everything that happened to Steam and Valve in 2025. If you thought you knew where Valve was heading, think again. This year began with a massive signal at CES. While Valve usually stays quiet during these events, Pierre from Valve actually showed up for the Lenovo SteamOS announcement, which changed everything. This wasn't just a new handheld, it was the official confirmation that SteamOS was no longer Valve only. By expanding SteamOS to third-party hardware, Valve was firing a shot in the operating system war. Valve's move proved their ultimate goal. They don't care if you buy a Steam Deck as long as you're using SteamOS. We also saw the return of Mike Shapiro, the voice of G-Man and Barney. His New Year's post made the Half-Life community go crazy, but in hindsight, it was the first of many diversions that kept us distracted from the massive infrastructure changes happening behind the scenes. In February, Valve handed the keys to the Team Fortress Kingdom over to the fans. On February 18th, Valve officially released the full TF2 source code into the public SDK. Valve explicitly encouraged modders to change, extend, or rewrite the game. The only catch is that it has to be non-commercial. This move was a huge boost for the modding community, allowing these massive fan-made spin-offs to finally launch officially on the Steam store. But Valve wasn't just being nice, as they were also cleaning house. This code release was paired with a massive 64-bit update for most of their back catalog from Day of Defeat to Counter-Strike Source. It was the first sign of a deeper 2025 mission, killing off the legacy 32-bit architecture to make Steam ready for the next decade. Valve also introduced the early access warning, a mandatory disclaimer to the buy button. It was a blunt, honest move that showed Valve was siding with consumers over developers, warning gamers that the title they are looking at hasn't been updated in a very long time. Then on Pi Day, March 14th, we saw one of the most significant updates this year, which was SteamOS 3.7. Codenamed Pi Day 3.7 introduced the beginnings of official support for non-Steam Deck handhelds. It was a complete upgrade for the operating system. It brought KDE Plasma 6 to the desktop mode, a newer Arch Linux base, and kernel 6.11, giving third-party manufacturers the stable foundation they needed to ditch Windows. The timing couldn't have been more perfect, as Steam hit 40 million concurrent users for the first time in history. Around the same time of this growth, an email from Gabe Newell went viral as a fan asked what he was playing lately, and Gabe simply replied Stalker 2. It showed Gabe was still deeply connected to the gaming community, even while his company, Starfish Neuroscience, was preparing to change the world. April was a slow month, as most of Valve was taking their yearly vacation to Hawaii. By May, the Lenovo Spark from January became a full-blown fire. Valve officially released SteamOS 3.7.8, which formally enrolled SteamOS for all AMD-powered handheld computers. This led to the SteamOS compatible rating system. Just like Deck Verified, Valve began testing thousands of games specifically for third-party hardware like the ROG Ally and Legion Go. For years, Windows 11 has been the clunky middleman for handhelds, eating up battery life and offering a terrible controller experience. Now that there was a direct option to compare Windows versus SteamOS on these devices, it became clear which operating system came out ahead, as the Steam version costed less and even gave better performance. May 2025 was the month Valve's side project became the most discussed topic in tech. After years of staying under the radar with no big news, Gabe Newell's company Starfish Neuroscience, which multiple people who previously worked at Valve moved to, finally showed what they had been working on with a blog post. They announced a custom-built neural chip intended for release by the end of 2025, which seems like the infamous Valve time also applies to brain chips, as it's still not released. Unlike Elon Musk's Neuralink, which is bulky and power-hungry, the Starfish chip is minimally invasive, battery-free, and consumes only 1.1 milliwatts of power. But the real Gabe Newell twist is that this chip is designed to read and write to multiple brain regions simultaneously. While the initial focus is medical, like treating Parkinson's and circuit-level brain dysfunction, Gaben has been vocal about the long-term vision. He believes the real world is a low-fidelity interface. By connecting directly to your motor and visual cortex, they are working on the ultimate computer interface. While Gaben was looking toward a sci-fi future with Starfish, the present reality of Steam hit a terrifying point in May. For 48 hours, the internet was convinced that Steam had finally been cracked. It started on a random afternoon, when a post on a credential leaking forum shared that they had access to 89 million Steam users and was selling all the data for just $5,000. As the rumor spread across X and Reddit, uninstall Steam or change your password began to trend as the community was panicking. But 48 hours later, Valve did something they rarely do. Valve's official response revealed the truth. There was no breach of the Steam master database. Instead, the leak was a compilation of data from other smaller hacks from phone providers that had occurred over the last 5 years, packaged together to look like a new Steam breach. What all the data really seemed to be was just confirmation codes. While the internet was burning with hack rumors, Valve continued to build its legacy. They expanded the top charts to include data going all the way back to 2004, essentially giving us a 20-year roadmap of how they won the PC market. June brought the in-game performance monitor. No longer do you need third-party apps to see your frame times, as Steam will now do it for you. Valve was slowly absorbing every essential third-party tool into the Steam overlay itself. In July, the honeymoon phase of the year ended. Pressure from payment processors, prompted by a campaign by Collective Shout, forced Valve to remove a massive wave of adult-themed games and added a new rule for Steam games, making them follow what's allowed by payment processors. It was a reminder that even a private company like Valve is still chained to the global banking system, as Valve confirmed they were told to follow the rules of payment processors like Visa and MasterCard, or Steam would be cut off. PayPal even disabled its services for Steam across the vast majority of global regions. Suddenly, unless you were using a handful of specific currencies like the US dollar or the euro, the PayPal button no longer worked in the checkout screen. On a lighter note though, we got the new Steam trailer player. Around this time, the new Steam UI exited from internal testing and went into a public beta. Valve also introduced a wider page layout that utilized modern 1440p and 4K monitors properly. Valve introduced language-specific user review scores, calculated from reviews written in your primary language to better capture regional differences in player experiences, such as translation quality or cultural factors. The score defaults to your language's version with an option to view a full language breakdown. While Valve was cleaning up the review sections, Gabe Newell was making his most expensive purchase to date. On August 1st, it was confirmed that Gabe Newell had officially acquired Oceanco, the Dutch custom super yacht builder. This wasn't just a rich man buying a new toy. It was Gabe plugging into a tribe of builders. He became a hands-on owner of the company that was already building his next massive project. Through his marine research organization, Inkfish, Gabe isn't just cruising around. He's funding a $1 billion investment into deep-sea exploration, including the construction of the RV-6000, a vessel designed for scientific research that can support 70 scientists scientists. It proved that in 2025, Gabe's interests were split between the digital worlds of Steam and brain-computer interfaces and the literal depths of the ocean. Around this time, Gabe Newell sat down for his only publicly recorded interview of the year with YouTuber Zalkar. Gabe was trying to send a wake-up call. He predicted that AI will have an impact
10 times as significant as the impact of CGI was on filmmaking.
He called it a
AI is going to be a cheat code for people who want to take advantage of it.
Famously stating that
People who don't know how to program, who use AI to scaffold their programming abilities, will become more effective developers of value than people who've been programming, for a decade, right?
In September, we had a Black Swan event. US Congress sent a formal inquiry to Valve, but more specifically Gabe Newell, regarding platform transparency and content moderation. The government was looking at Steam's $10 billion plus economy and asking, what are you doing to control this platform? Although the hearing Gabe was invited to never happened, a followed-up interview did take place, which has been kept private for now, so we don't know exactly what went down. But this is also when the Steam UI officially released out of beta that came with a consoleized modern look. We also can't forget Gaben's yearly speech at the International, where he confirmed he still plays Dota 2 to this day. Before the chaos of the market started, Valve dropped one of the most useful features for the overwhelmed gamer, the personal calendar. Launched as a Steam Labs experiment, it's a daily refresh schedule tailored specifically to you. By analyzing people with similar playtime profiles and looking at their wish lists, Valve built a visual timeline of when your next favorite games are actually dropping. But the calm of the new UI and calendar didn't last very long. October 23rd, 2025 will be remembered by Counter-Strike players as the crash. Valve updated the trade-up contract to allow players to exchange 5 covert red skins for a guaranteed knife or pair of gloves. The market flipped overnight with this news. Golds, knives became common, and reds all started to spike up in value. Billions of dollars in the market cap evaporated in 48 hours. It was the boldest economic move Valve had ever made that started to get covered by mainstream news. But it really only took a few days for the market to recover. That same month, Steam also hit a new record high of 41.6 million concurrent users. As November came around, Valve revealed the Gabe Cube, internally codenamed Fremont. This was the new Steam machine, a dedicated console-sized PC for the living room. Along with it came the Steam Controller 2, featuring the same trackpad stick layout as the Steam Deck, but in a standalone controller, plus the Steam Frame, a brand new wireless VR headset with foveated rendering that allows you to play VR and non-VR games. Valve also added display-off downloads for the Steam Deck, a small but life-changing feature for anyone who was tired of having their screen on while downloading a 100GB game. In November, as the Gabe Cube was getting all the attention, Gaben took delivery for his newest vessel, the Leviathan. While mainstream news framed it as a $500 million yacht, the technical specs actually tell you a different story. The Leviathan is actually a working ecosystem for the Inkfish fleet. The Leviathan has a fully equipped laboratory, an on-board hospital, and a massive dive center, all designed to accommodate the Inkfish scientists and other workers. It has 15 high-end gaming stations, but they serve as much more than just a place to play. They're able to be used for the fleet's ROVs and mapping tech. Through Inkfish, Gabe is providing scientists with free access to technology that can reach the deepest parts of the ocean. As Gabe famously put it this year, yachts have great potential to serve as platforms for scientific research. It's about the yacht's presence adding value to the community. But as we got into December, it was about killing the past to save the future. On December 19th, the old Steam officially died. Valve released the final mandatory update that moved the Windows Steam client fully to 64-bit. While this sounds like something minor, it was actually a massive house cleaning move. Only 0.01% of users were still on 32-bit Windows 10. Simultaneously, the Steam Deck LCD was finally phased out. Valve moved to an OLED-only production line, signaling that the entry-level era of the deck Tech was over. But while Steam was cleaning house, the Linux side was actually expanding. Valve officially revealed that they have been working on and funding Fex Emulator and Lepton. Fex is the translation layer that allows your massive library of x86 PC games to run on the ARM64 architecture of the new VR headset. This opens them up for new device possibilities in the future using ARM chips. The thing is, Fex has been heavily used behind the scenes, like with the popular app GameHub on Android, which many people don't even know it uses Fex that's funded and created by someone Valve hired. But we only recently learned Valve was the mastermind behind it. Lepton, which is based on Waydroid, is the container that allows Android VR apps to run natively on SteamOS, so Valve isn't just making a new VR headset. They're making sure that when you put on that Steam frame, you have your entire PC library ready to go. And to wrap up the year, Valve added the bundle warning. We've all been there, buying a game only to realize 5 minutes later it was $2 cheaper in a bundle. Now Steam proactively warns you about the purchase and redirects you to a better deal. It's a small change, but it's the final 2025 reminder that Valve is playing the long game, prioritizing user trust over an extra few dollars. So what did we learn from 2025? We learned that Valve is no longer content with just being a platform. They want to be the operating system on your Lenovo. They want to be the console in your living room. They want to be the interface in your brain. And they proved that the Steam Deck was just the Trojan horse to get SteamOS into the hands of millions, which we will cover more in the next few days as another official third-party SteamOS handheld is getting announced very, very soon. 2025 was the year the GameCube finally went public, but for all the technical leaps, one thing didn't change, and that's the wait. Despite the January hope from Mike Shapiro and the promise of a Raising the Bar art book arriving in 2025, the year ends with both still missing in action. And looking toward 2026, with the Steam Frame VR headset on the horizon and the Steam Machine launching, the war for the living room has only just begun. Now we just have to wait to see if they ever decide to let us back into the Black Mesa facility. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all news for Valve and Steam for 2026.